Well, you'd be forgiven for missing it, but Albo's second biggest election promise was a $2.3 billion plan to get batteries into Aussie homes that have got solar electricity. He was very excited about it, as the ABC's finance reporter Alan Kohler explained this week.
Slashing your power bills permanently.
That policy, due to kick off on July the 1st with 30% cash discounts, represents a big change in Australia's energy transition.
Yep, 30% cash discounts on batteries. It is a big plan. Funny it didn't get much traction before the election. But anyway, Alan Kohler's ABC report goes on to explain why the government is so keen to get batteries in the home. AEMO, the Australian Energy Market Operator, put out a report showing that the cost of transmission lines in our electricity network is blowing out big time. AEMO says 10 projects that are underway are going to blow out by up to 60%, the average being 31% in just 2 years. Alan Kohler used the term prohibitive to explain the impact of this blowout on the cost of getting renewable power from regional wind and solar factories into our cities where it's actually needed. Oh dear. Now, you don't hear the ABC doing much reporting on the negatives of wind and solar power. So Alan Kohler was brave to even get this report out, I reckon. And the news isn't bad just in terms of the cost blowouts. There's another big problem too.
There's also what AEMO calls the social licence problem. That is, no one wants power lines across their property. Putting them underground would cost between 3 and 9 times as much, so that's out. Last week, the energy regulator increased electricity prices, and a lot of that was due to rising transmission costs, as well as ageing coal power stations breaking down all the time. So more solar and wind is needed, and fast.
All right, well, our energy guru, electrical engineer and host of the Baseload podcast, Ben Beattie, joins me in the studio. Ben, welcome back again. The cost is going to be prohibitive, Alan Kohler says. Why isn't this front page news?
That's a good question, Damian. Thanks for having me back. I need to get something off my chest first. I'd much rather prefer the politicians and the bureaucrats. Maybe we can get them drug and alcohol tested as a policy. Maybe we'll get some better decisions. Hopefully that's not too controversial. But this is just another subsidy contributing to the structural challenges that our energy system is facing. So it's probably not front page news because, politicians and governments throwing a couple of $1 billion around is not big news anymore. We're used to it. We're desensitized to it. And the voters, there's a certain demographic of voters who will appreciate it. A lot of us will look at it and go a little bit skeptical of is there going to be any improvement. But yeah, big costs in transmission blowouts in the transition that we told we need, regardless of the cost now apparently, and more subsidies for people who can opt in to
This
those
is fundamental
benefits.
stuff though, right? If they can't get those transmission lines built at a reasonable cost, then it's game over as far as getting the electricity from the wind and solar factories into the cities.
Yeah, indeed. So if no matter what subsidies and programs, for example, the capacity investment scheme that the government comes up with to incentivise developers to build new wind and solar projects out in the regions, if the transmission's not being built, then they won't be able to connect to anything. Therefore, they won't be able to get the finance to build the projects. So in my opinion, I think the government, the Chris Bowens, et cetera, are going to be focused almost relentlessly on the transmission. And unfortunately for us as taxpayers and consumers, they're going to do that regardless of the cost. They got targets, Damian, targets.
Yes. So, okay, so if they do press ahead with batteries in the home program, that's also going to take some economic kind of weight off the wind and solar farms as well, right? It's going to cause them a few problems because it's going to be like, well, people are going to need that power less. That's going to make it more expensive. So their revenue is going to go down as well as their costs going up.
Yeah, I think there's some truth in that, although I wouldn't say it's the major problem. When we talk about the batteries specifically, so Alan Kohler mentioned it's a 30% discount.
Yeah.
It's actually related to the capacity of the batteries. So in my research, when I was looking at the policy papers, policy papers which acknowledge the renewable lobby groups like the Smart Energy Council and Climate Council, they're right in there advocating for this stuff. It's actually $370 for per kilowatt hour. So a 10 kilowatt hour battery, which is roughly what people will be going for, what the market's providing at the moment.
It's going to be $3,700.
Correct. Now, when you take the $2.3 billion value of the subsidy, I think it goes out to 2030.
Yep.
If you divide that by an average 3,700, you get about 600,000 batteries.
Which is not that many
It's
for
not that
a
many.
country of 27 million people.
It's not that many. Well, you got 4 million solar installations, so 600,000 batteries is not a huge impact on the system. Now,
But it's a discount on the battery price, so I guess he's hoping that people are going to fork out the rest, and then you're going to get like 3 times that in terms of
that's right.
number
So,
of batteries that are actually out there. So 1.8 million batteries maybe, but
you and
still
me,
small, right?
You and me, Damian, might be able to afford to opt in for a sort of, after the subsidy, $6,000 to $10,000 cost, and write that off over a few years and enjoy the efficiencies and the benefits that a reduced cost of living gives to us. But a lot of people won't be able to. Now, the problem with this increasing these structural problems in the electricity market and electricity systems by incentivizing and subsidizing less market share for the generators and for the retailers becomes a problem for those people who can't opt into those benefits.
Yeah, right.
So
exactly.
your single parents, your pensioners, your renters, all those people, and then there's the people who are
So their energy is going to go up.
Someone has to pay.
Yeah. All right, mate. Now the other issue that Alan Kohler raised was that question of the social license to operate, right? The idea that you've got to get the community behind this, and nobody wants these transmission lines. And you sent me a very interesting clip from a few years ago of none other than Mr. Renewable Energy himself, Simon Holmes à Court, saying on the Uncomfortable Conversations podcast last year, this.
My wife and I built a house in regional Victoria on a farm, and it was off grid. It was going to cost way too much to bring power lines in, and they would have gone across our view. So we built off grid, and it was pretty early for an off grid system. So I learned a lot about.
And what was the electricity supply off grid there? We were using solar or
solar with lead acid batteries.
Yeah.
It was going to cost $66,000 for a power line, and it cost $50,000 for solar battery with a diesel backup.
Right. So Simon Holmes à Court there saying that he's totally fine with all of Australia being having power lines all over it and transmission lines running through everybody's properties, just not his place.
Very interesting position to take there, isn't it? I mean, I'm completely on Simon's side here. I agree that there's a role for an off-grid system which is going to be cheaper than a transmission line. Sure. I also side with him when I wouldn't want transmission lines coming across beautiful views in my off-grid property. And I'm sure it's a lovely property given the the capabilities of Mr. Holmes à Court in that area. So I do sympathise with him. I don't disagree with him. I just would like it if that logical, objective approach could be applied to the rest of the country instead of just political ambition.
Yeah. All right, Ben, stay with us. We're going to come back. We're going to be talking about gas in a moment with Ben Beattie, our energy expert here on the other side. Did you know that with a virtual private network or VPN on your computer, tablet or phone, you can log into your favourite streaming services like Netflix from home with an internet address from anywhere in the world and watch all the shows that they offer in other countries, including stuff in different languages? And using a VPN to route all your internet traffic through a third-party server means that big corporations and big government can't spy on you. If you sign up now with private internet access, we think they're the best VPN servers out there, as a viewer of the other side, you can get 83% off the price of your subscription and get online for less than $3 a month. Check it out right now. Go to piavpn.com/other side. That's piavpn.com/other side. It's a great service, a rock bottom price, and supporting our sponsor, you are helping to keep the other side going and growing. That was a segment from a recent episode of our fortnightly news commentary show, The Other Side, with me, Damian Curry. If you liked it, support us. Subscribe to our channel on YouTube right now so you don't miss a thing. It's totally free. Just click that subscribe button and the little bell. And check out our Other Side Unplugged show too, and join our mission to actually do something and change Aussie media for the better at othersidetv.com.au. That's othersidetv.com.au. Check it out now.